I said, okay, he knows the 1, 2, 3, you got to go. And he looks at me and he goes, I don't have that fight. I don't feel it in my belly. So I put on my grumpy, my stern face. And I said, Ali, you asked me to come down and coach you. I'm here. First time I've ever played the guilt card, but I did.
Wow.
You asked, I came. He sat there, he smiled. And then he started laughing, actually. We both laughed. He goes, I got it. Okay, now.
Here we are for another edition of Boast About It. I'm here with Mike Way, the coach from Harvard. Mike.
James, lovely to be here.
First of all, thanks for, you just finished the session down with some kids downstairs at Open Squash. Thank you so much for that. How did it go?
It was very good. We've got 13 very enthusiastic kids, and myself, Peter, Armour, and Thaisa, David. And it's been terrific. 2 days in, terrific group.
It's fantastic. Just to start with, you've been at Harvard now for 15 years.
Yeah.
Right? You've coached you've coached the world number one, Ali Farag, and you've coached a whole mess of other people, some who've been pros, some who have not. But just going back to when you first left, and you were in Canada before that,
I
right?
was in Toronto, yep.
And you coached Jonathan Power, my favorite retiring story ever. He retired as world number one.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
He won
Good
and
memory.
said, I'm out.
I'm out. Good way to do it. Well done, Jay.
Well done.
Yeah.
And Sarah Fitzgerald and some other incredible squash players. You were there doing that, and somehow you ended up at Harvard. How did that happen?
Quite simply, I was doing my thing. I had a wonderful junior group. If I can be boastful, I think in the group, we counted it up at some point. We had over 120 national titles from around the world coming out of the group. And there were senior players and junior players. So it was a strong group, and I loved it. I wasn't looking or thinking about moving or doing anything else. So I get this phone call out of the blue. Would I be interested? I wasn't. I was casually curious, but not really interested. And I actually checked the posting. They sent me the posting, and the posting says 4-year college degree required, which I don't have. So I said, thank you very much. They changed the posting and said, if we change the posting, would you be interested? So anyway, long story short.
Wow, they have postings for you.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So long story short, 18 hours of interviews over 3 days, which was like, hang on, who are you hiring here? I thought the whole thing was a little bit absurd, but anyway, love them. And ended up down there, and took me a long time to settle in.
You started there. Did you have any preconceived notions about what that would be like, and were they right or wrong? I
didn't have any preconceived notions. The only thing what I didn't realize is how much administration there was through the job I was used to. But what was difficult for me is I was used to dealing mostly with young people, where you have such a greater amount of influence on. So technically, tactically, mentally, everything. And you're taking these young kids up and developing them to as good a players, trying to get them to realize their potential, as we coaches say. The transition was very difficult. And it was difficult mostly because I didn't have the same amount of influence. So they're already young men and women at university. Yeah. I thought I had the cred factor, but not for everybody. And I just really struggled to settle in. I actually, after the first year, I went to see my boss. I was on a 3-year contract. I actually said to him, in 12 months' time, I'm going to hand my notice in.
So, for 14 years ago, you said you'll quit in a year.
14 years ago, I said I'll quit in a year. And my boss, I'll never forget it, he turned it around on me, and he said, oh, so you're going to, he sort of said, you didn't call me a quitter, but that's what he was inferring. He said, well, you have to have more patience in a college job because you're trying to build it and build a culture into the program that you want. And he said, it doesn't happen like that. He said, it'll take 3 to 5 years. So in the next year, so he actually changed how I saw my job. And during the next year, I changed. I'd only just started, but I thought, okay, I've got to change how we recruit. Even though I was new to it, I knew we were just looking at the best in the world. We're just looking at the best. I thought, we got to change the emphasis to character, work ethic, to passion and love, and not just whoever is the best out there. And of course, you know, Ali, which I know you're going to ask me about, but Ali Farag was a little different because he was a full package in that regard, as was Amanda Sobey. But anyway, he turned it around. And I looked at it differently, and I looked at it as a challenge, and I looked at it, I had to change the program, and I started changing the mental program to include character pieces. So I actually went back and started looking at what was required. So I have this thing where I'm looking to build a foundation, so character skills, and then a mindset for training, because training is a bit of a drag. There's so much repetition in training day to day. The students are coming down from academic Harvard to athletic Harvard across the Charles River. They're tired often, they're academically stressed, there's social issues and so on. So I had to sort of create a better mindset, I felt, in the program, in them ultimately, but I had to change our approach. So character foundation, training mindset, hook them on my programs and how I saw it, on my vision, and then setting the goals, performance goals in every category, technical, tactical, etc., and then getting to buy into the program so that we could actually do the mental training. Whereas I hadn't thought about it as deeply, and I was just going straight in and checking the obvious boxes as one does. So there was a lot of learning for me. There was a lot of introspection, a lot of reflection, and I learnt on a couple of the older coaches, they as old as I am. One in particular, Dave Fish, the head tennis coach. And I learned a lot from him, and I bounced a lot of him, and it made me do more reading and talk to more people. And what was wonderful about that, there was still, as I always believe to this day, I'm expanding as a person. I'm still going to expand and develop as a coach and a person. And that turned me around. And then I could see, okay, if I keep doing this, I could see, as my boss said, in 3 to 5 years, I got a good looking program. That's what I felt. So
you really did change the way that you recruited from that first or second
I had to change the way, but it was more, even though I was new to the recruiting, I had to change how I was thinking about it. I was thinking I need to get the number 1, 2, or 3 players from wherever I could get them. Yeah. And that was the recipe for success. And of course, you can't deny that if you're recruiting the top players, the best in the world, from around the world, that you are going to have a stronger squad. Except if you don't recruit young men and women with the right character, and then they're not buying in to your program, then they're going to drop out, then they're not going to contribute. And this is where you've got this very interesting thing. We're an individual sport, but we play as a team. Yeah. And that happens in the World Championships and also, but it doesn't happen a lot. Yeah. In an individual sport, the athlete believes that what their attitude only affects them. So if I'm having a bad day, it doesn't affect you, but of course it does. Yeah. The coach knows, the older, the more experienced player knows. So we talk to our guys, and we did talk to our guys about them, that it is not okay to be neutral. You cannot be a neutral. In other words, you either contribute to the program, to the team, the training, as well as yourself, or in fact you're stealing. So are you going to steal from the program, or are you going to contribute? And so, but I had to get buy-in for that. Buy-in, when you're coaching, and
how do you find out in the interview process whether someone's going to do that?
Okay. So finding the right recruits. Well, what do? First of all, we're a small pond sport. Yeah. We know. How many coaches coaches know? Right, number one. Our first years are 2 years removed from the guys that we're recruiting, because the year behind them we've probably already, got them to commit or close to. Yeah. So they're close in age. They know them by reputation. We bring them over for a weekend. Young people think that that they can fake it, they can hide some character flaw. Over the 48 hours, can't be done. Okay, just can't be done. Something is going to get exposed.
So you're leveraging the people in this.
Absolutely. But look, how about this one? Little things like this. We go to the World Championships, the British Open, the US Junior Open. I want to recruit you. And I'm okay, be careful. And I'm hiding in the back of the crowd.
Yeah.
And you're playing to a certain level.
Yeah.
And you scan the gallery and then you see myself or one of the assistant coaches, and suddenly you change. Your whole demeanor changes, your energy changes, and you try harder.
Yeah.
I'm going to notice that and I'm going to think, really? So now there's going to be a different James because you've seen someone in the gallery. You understand that?
Yeah, I
now
do.
that may not be a big thing because you can say, well, that applies to a lot of people. But how about this one? Where you're playing in the US Junior Open, you lose in the main event in the second, third round. You're supposed to feed into the constellation, but you're done. You don't want to. And you're out of it.
I hate it when people do that, by the way.
We watch your behavior.
Yeah.
How do you respond to your parents?
Yeah.
How are you responding to your coach? So we get these little signals. It does not mean the kid is a bad kid. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It does not mean that the kid isn't going to learn certain character skills. The question is, are they going to learn the skills on our watch? How much do we think they've got to expand? But the big one is this one. Do you still love your sport? And what happens now is the biggest reason for not recruiting is burnout. So our sport, as every other, used to have a season. So if you think of the UK, Canada, America, you say, okay, September to the end of April. Well, it's not like that anymore. It's now gone crazy. It's now, from coaching, it's business first. Every kid's got a $sign on his forehead. It's nutty. And what that's led to is parents or kids specializing sooner.
Yeah.
Parents having, gauging the right sport to get into the right school. I had a dad this morning. He will remain nameless. He was a nice guy. His kids just started squash. It's his second sport. He wanted to meet with me and discuss and map out a plan. The kid's 13, and map out a plan to get into college. It would be, I do not want to share my answer. You can imagine my answer to a well-meaning parent, but I tried to redirect his thinking. That to me is nuts.
Welcome to New York.
Well, I think now it used to be an American thing. I actually believe it is now, you can't just go, it's North America, it's going everywhere. It will travel the whole into the West, everywhere.
You coached Ali Farag, world number one of my, I don't know tons and tons of people on the tour. I know him.
Yeah.
He's just an unbelievably fantastic human, and he was the world's best.
Yeah.
But people coming out of your program, some of them become professionals, some of them don't. They don't all perform at the same level. And I'm going to sort of pick on a couple because I'm going to pick on them because I love them, not because I want to pick on them.
Yeah.
Unfortunate phrase.
I've got you. I love them too.
I really do love them. I'm going to pick on Victor Crouin and Gina Kennedy.
Right.
And Victor's here. I'm going to take a day camp with him on Sunday.
Right.
I love the guy.
Yeah.
I love the way he moves forward on the court. I love I love a lot of things. I mean, he's certainly got a strong training ethic.
Yeah.
What makes the difference between those guys who are top 20 players?
Yeah.
But they can't. There's another level in the top 3 or 4 in the world that they don't seem to be able to quite get into. What is that? Is that something intrinsic to them, or is it something that they can change? What? And I'm sure you've given them advice already. So,
well, that's a big question.
Yeah.
So let's just back up for a bit.
Yeah.
So, when we recruit and they come in, or when they graduate, whatever school, and they go full time, and I'm going to use a term that Ali uses, and he looks at himself. Ali looks at it as a package. What is the package of a player? So when you look at Ali Farag was the second best junior player, the number one junior player at the time you employ as a coach.
I'm a Khalifa.
Okay.
Here
so,
in Open Squash, if you'd like to get lessons from him, come on down.
Okay. So if you look at, but what's undeniable, so the kid or the junior player is a package. And so you have, just like you have in the senior rank, you have these different packages. And then what you're thinking about, so you've got there the natural athleticism. You take the package and then you look at the style of play and what could be developed. So I'll come to those players specifically in a minute. But what is driving these young players? And of course, not just those two, because we've had some tournaments. I just came back from, Chicago a few weeks ago, and there was, I can't remember, but I think it was 8 or 9 players from the Harvard program.
Yeah, those are huge. I mean, you've got
so
Timmy
different
Brunel,
numbers.
Amanda
Okay.
Sobey, Sabrina Sobey, like there's all.
So what it tells me a couple of things. That number one, I believe we recruited well.
Yeah.
And I believe we recruited well because it's undeniable that 90% of the student athletes we've recruited absolutely love the sport. So remember, passion and enthusiasm are the main drivers. That's why, going back to the question, and I mentioned burnout, that's why parents and coaches, our responsibility is to not lose sight of that passion and enthusiasm. Our job is to nurture it, and nurturing it is not cracking a whip. So passion and enthusiasm are the big drivers. So you've got this package. Now what else do you need? You need an open mind. So I'll tell you a funny story about Gina. She won't mind me saying this, but this just came up. All the time that Gina was at Harvard, and how can you not love Gina? I love Gina.
I love Gina too.
She drove me nuts in a nice way, in a squash way. She's built to play like Rafael Nadal, but she wants to play like Federer. And I couldn't get her attention to recognize a deeper identity.
So I'm not a good enough fan of tennis to know how those players play differently.
Well, Nadal is a baseliner. It's so physical. It's so long. I'm going to wear you down.
Oh, got it.
Federer is Ali Farag.
He's
got hands, finesse, and he's got to work. It's very much tougher mentally, by the way, but that's for another day. Much tougher. The attritional player, he knows what he's got to do. He goes about his business. The player with flair, the creative player, has to trust his hands, his touch, his feel, his intuition. If he doesn't feel right, if his head's not in the right space and he's too nervous,
falls apart.
These don't work. You understand?
And she just didn't want to be the physical retriever.
Well, it's not just a retriever. It's just saying, it's a bit like saying, so if you took Nick Matthew or Peter Nickel, you say, okay, hang on a minute. This is actually when I produce my best squash.
Yeah.
If someone wants to beat me and I do this and this. So I actually asked Gina one day, I said, have you ever lost a match through being absolutely exhausted? She said, no. I said, how can that possibly be? It makes no sense. Right. That means you're not used. So in other words, if you're losing by your opponent hitting winning, so you're gifting them positions, and you're hitting too many unforced errors, which is what she sometimes does with the random boast or whatever, long drops, you know what I mean? The other conversation was to do with her technique. And I said, I think you can make some adjustments on your technique. And if you don't make them, it's fine, but you will change them through osmosis. And the osmosis will happen, which is meaning you're absorbing at a subconscious level what's going on around you, and your forehand and backhand is going to change. In Chicago, we spoke a few times about different things. And she has been sharing with me recently that she hasn't changed coaches because she's got a primary coach, but she's seeing another guy. But she says to me, I can't believe I was with you for 4 years and didn't take advantage of what we were selling, if you want to call it that way. But as the new coach on the block, you have to remember this. The student athlete comes in. They're 18 years old, sometimes 70, but 17, 18 years old. They've had a lot of success. Gina's, you know, junior champion in her country, European champion, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Her coach, good coach, great coach, has taught her well, and she has had all this success. Why would somebody come to college and think that a coach necessarily is going to show you, teach you, show you something new to get you off your current plateau and make you even better? So I know that everything I say is filtered through the primary coach at home. So I'm very careful. I plant seeds, and if they germinate, you know, sometimes they feel more like time capsules. So often the player comes to you later. They come to you later. Sometimes after they graduate, they come to you after they graduate, which is interesting to me. But that's part of their path, their road, and their development. What happened with Ali was different. His package was stronger than anyone else we've recruited, and everybody knows that. I didn't create Ali Farag. His mum and dad created his character with his older brother, Wael. And then Kareem Darwish and whoever else was his coach before Kareem, they produced this beautiful player. What happened with Ali is that he faltered mentally, and then he bought in to learning about the mental side of the game and how to get off his current plateau. And that's what transported him forwards. Gina is still, they all three of them, heavily in love with their sport, so passionate, being driven in an intrinsic drive to get better. Gina's mind has opened a little more, in my opinion, since she graduated. It's not that she was close. She was never rude. She couldn't be rude to save her life. Very respectful the whole way through, but very much she had a clarity about who she was and how she wanted to play. And it wasn't the right time for her to listen to Mike or Hamid or Luke. Have you considered this? Have you considered? And she did. It wasn't she kicked everything out of the ballpark. She did do some stuff, but maybe not as much as we thought she might have done. Now, Victor, the package, is a different beast. He lost in the final of the World Junior Championships, and he lost to Marwan Tarek, who we recruited at the same time. And Victor comes in, and Victor, how do you describe Victor? Victor is so methodical in his whole life.
Yeah.
I have never in my life met a more structured individual. He leaves no stone unturned. And as I said, methodical in everything that he does. Yeah. He filters, I'm pretty sure, everything through his father, who he loves and trusts.
Yeah.
His father's
and was his coach.
It was and is his coach.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
So he came to us. He went to Thierry Lanku, which I loved. I love Thierry. I respect him enormously. All I want from our players, I don't care where you get it from. I don't have an ego enough. I have an ego, but I don't have an ego enough that I'm going to compete against you going every week to Thierry. Go to Thierry Lanku. Yeah. All I'd ask is, hey, share with me what you're doing. Thierry, share with me what you're doing. So we have this collaborative approach. Yeah. So Victor, there's Victor's package. And he plays matches, you review the matches, you take out the habitual to improve, and from that you write little programs. If we did this, this, and this, there would be a natural equation. And the natural equation is, if I do the programs from the evidence from the reviews, and I do it regularly with full intention and focus, how can I not get better? That is Victor Crouin. That is Victor Crouin. Now remember, everybody is a package, has a package, and everybody has a full potential. Now when we get to the higher levels, we actually don't know. We never know. Did Diego dream of becoming a world champion? Yes. Did he think he was going to be a world champion, let's say, before he won it last year? Did he think he was going to become a world champion? Maybe. In the last years of his career? Maybe, maybe not. Did Paul Cole think he was going to become a world champion? Yes. He's a bit like Victor. Does Paul Cole think he could be world champion? Yes, but maybe there's an asterisk. Do you understand? Yeah. So what happens is, as they compete and play, and they know everyone around them, what happens is they have a deep belief system. But even deep belief systems sometimes get knocked about a little bit. And there can be a little question mark, and you can watch top players compete with those ranked around them and below them, and then maybe the question mark has become too big. Now, I don't know, I mentioned two players, I don't know them, but the experienced coach can observe. So if we say, is Olivia Weaver still driven? Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, she is.
All right. Is Noran Gohar still driven? Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Is Hanya Hamami? Oh yeah. You see what I mean? Yeah. So you can see it. I won't mention other names, but you can see sometimes where there is I'm accepting, this is my level. Here I am. Do I think Gina is there? No, I don't. Gina has...
So she has room to go up.
No, Gina... Well, okay, so Gina actually has 2 or 3 levels to go yet.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying she's going to realize them, but they're going to be on these factors. And Gina, if you listen to this, I'm not trying to embarrass you, she will reach another plateau from technical. She will reach another plateau by having a game plan that seriously uses her skills to the best of their ability. She will reach another plateau by having tactical clarity and playing with tactical discipline. So we start with awareness, then we start with some clarity, and then the execution is the discipline. One is leading into the other, but it doesn't always happen that way. Very often we get number 1, we don't even get to number 2. You understand what I'm saying here? Yeah. The third one will be from the mental program and recognizing the types of rally that are suited for her, the different phases that happen in squash. There are about 6. Recognizing which phase and what I need to do now. And there's your tactical discipline. So within a basic type of rally, and then they are adjusted through that. I know that sounds complicated, but it's actually not. No, it's not. Because the type of rally, so you can, right now, you and our viewers, we can see Ali Farag playing Ali Farag squash. We go, oh yeah, there's Ali Farag squash. Yeah. But Ali Farag squash in the first half of the first game, maybe longer, is actually a version of Ali Farag squash. But it's not the same version that he's executing later. When Ali settles and he feels more comfortable, he now brings in other things. He might use the boast a little bit more. So we've got version of Ali early on, and now we've got, so we call this deliberate Ali. Deliberate Ali plus. Okay? What we're wanting to get to is autopilot Ali. Autopilot Ali plays like this. And the goal is actually to play instinctive Ali. And instinctive Ali is the beautiful. Instinctive Ali, which applies to every player. When the player is executing, feeling the tee. Feeling the tee is, I know where my opponent is, I know what I'm selecting, and they are, whether you call it in the zone, it's not always in the zone, but it's this is when our sport is at its most beautiful. And you could apply that to almost any sport, but this is what we love. Not just in Ali, of course, in everyone. Gina hits these moments, Victor hits these moments. So I know this is an enormously long answer, but it's a huge question. You asked a massive question.
So
does that make sense, though, to a degree?
It does.
Right.
But, so what I got out of that is they both have headroom above them.
Oh, Gina has 3 levels above her.
Yeah.
Victor, it's hard for me to say how many. He's definitely got a level above him. He might have 2. But I tell you what I love about Victor. I love a lot of things about Victor. Victor is squeezing every ounce out of Victor.
Yeah.
And Victor will squeeze every ounce out of Victor until the day he retires. I swear to God.
It is inspirational.
He may not be unique, but he is a very, very rare athlete. And if I'm talking to all the squash players out there, if there is a model, a path to follow, a map, if you will, make sure that Victor Crouin is one of the players that you want to be like, maybe not play like, because that's up to the individual and with the coach's help, but to be like in attitude and approach.
That's awesome. Let's go in a slightly different direction now.
Okay.
Our favorite Ali Farag resigned.
He did. It's been
Retired.
coming for a long time.
Retired. Didn't resign. Retired.
Yeah.
Is there any special about this moment? I was really surprised.
Yeah.
I thought he'd be in the Olympics.
Yeah. No. Well. So obviously I wasn't surprised because we've been talking about this at least since September. So he's telling me in September, October, he's finding it harder to find that fight. So early rounds I'm okay. And then I'm meeting Diego, Porcal, Mohammed, Marwan, whomever. It's getting tough. I got to dig. I can't find the same way. So I make lighthearted this. I said, well, he said, what come over? I said, well, the obvious ones to check are bigger paycheck, better ranking points, easier post-match interview, a more enjoyable flight home, and less ridiculous comments from your fellow Egyptians when you get back to Cairo. Nothing bites, right? So I go down, so he calls me, and he likes me to go to the US Open. Kareem is too busy. Kareem Darvish is too busy. Well, I go, so, yeah, I'll go down. And it's a very busy time of me. I talk to Luke and Hamid, we plan it, I go down. I go down for the week.
I saw you there.
He's struggling to find his gut motivation. There are two parts of this story. One is deeply, deeply moving. On the day of the final, so he's struggling through matches, he's getting through on the day of the final. On that morning, David Ryan died. He was 28 years old. He was a Harvard grad. He's 20. He died back in his house, in his mom and dad's house, in his bed.
Yeah.
I get a text about 2 hours before the match. I did not share it with Ali. We're walking through the warm-up area to the court. The women's final has just finished. He's going to play. He gets a post. He reads it. I was going to tell him after the match. He stops. He goes, Mike, did you see the post? He's like this.
Yeah.
We branch off into one of the side courts. We talk for 2 minutes. We talk about David. We talk about his family. And I tell him a couple of crazy things about the mad Irishman that I loved. He has to go and warm up. He warms up on the match. He comes off. We have 30 seconds. He sits there. I said, okay. He knows the 1, 2, 3. You got to go. And he looks at me and he goes, I don't have that fight. I don't feel it in my belly. Now, in a flash, and you and the viewers might be thinking, oh, you pulled David Ryan, play for David. There's no way I'm going to do that. I can't put that on someone. It's fresh. It's raw. But that did come up post-match, which I'll come to. So I put on my grumpy, my stern face, and I said, Ali, you asked me to come down and coach you. I'm here. First time I've ever played the guilt card.
Oh.
But I did.
Wow.
You asked, I came. He sat there, he smiled. And then he started laughing, actually. We both laughed. He goes, I got it. Okay, now, I don't like to insinuate myself in the story.
Yeah.
But he went out there and he played fantastic.
He did.
He absolutely, he won 3 love.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. Okay. Do I think that maybe, I've never asked him about it. Do I think David Ryan was sitting in the back of his head? Maybe. Because when he got the first thing he did, he dedicated the title to the memory of David Ryan and to his family. It was wrong for me to say, hey, will you think? I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
It's a very private, it's a personal and private thing. What the story demonstrates, which I know you didn't ask about, but I just finished telling my kids, is that mental programs, mental training is definitely about retaining focus, building confidence, staying in the moment, being able to see clearly and making adjustments. But above and beyond everything is how you feel. So when you play somebody who's slightly above your level, when you play the coach, you feel great. And you play, you move well, you hit the ba-ba-ba-boom. When you play someone your level or just below you, you don't feel the same way. We call it arrow up, someone above you, versus arrow down. The goal with mental training is to get to as close as you can in an arrow down match to an arrow up performance. That's the goal. Now, so with all the components that go into mental training, the overriding thing is how you feel. And when you feel right, you play way better. But when you don't have, and that's an example, he didn't feel it, but one comment and maybe some background stuff, which is quite,
turned it all around.
Makes him feel differently.
Yeah.
But to do with Ali Farag and retiring, that was for Ali unsustainable. The thought of him training more, getting on a plane to the next tournament and going on and on. Do you understand? It was coming to an end. You saw it. And so he's asking what I thought. He's asking his brother, his parents.
And the Olympics was not a big enough.
No, it's too far away. Yeah. No. I've got 2 little children. I got my wife, is beautiful Noor. No, I've got a family. And there's other things.
He's already retired.
And he's got a big brain. I want to use my big brain.
Yeah.
I don't want to be with my family. And I've accomplished, and he says it, but I don't know if people believe him. He accomplished way beyond what he dreamt of accomplishing. He had an incredible career. But he's, 33?
Yeah.
But he's 33. But he shocked everyone because no one saw it coming. We often see players get to the top and then they fade. And so we know, Novak is about to retire. We know he's about to retire. By the time this recording comes out, Tarek Momen will have retired. I thought he would have announced it by now. Okay. But we know it's coming. Be careful with that one on your Reddit.
Okay.
But you understand?
Yeah.
We know, we can see. So Ali shocked everyone. He shocked everyone because he's right up there and he's got, for sure, physically, not mentally, 2 to 4 years in him, maybe the Olympics, but he's done. And it's good. And it's beautiful. And he left a legacy, and did it shock the Scottish Road? Damn right it did.
Yeah, damn right it
shocked
did.
Everyone.
I'm going to switch gears on you again.
Yes.
More than half of your program at Harvard is made up of international
students. We're about
students.
50-50 right now. Yeah.
And I was an international student.
Right.
And so it's near and dear to my heart. And you recruit Americans, you recruit internationally.
Yeah.
How are those people doing in this environment right now?
Well, as you can imagine, and at Harvard, it's about 7,500 international students. And of course, it's the whole range, right? It's not just so you can only imagine the nervous energy that's going on.
Yeah.
So it would be rare for me to go a day without an email, a text, or a call from an existing Harvard student, an existing parent, a prospective student, or someone that we have already recruited and they're coming in. Kids that are applying for visas. So even though there's an injunction against the proclamation and what went on before, is there another wrench that can be thrown into the works? So the nervous energy is such. But what has happened recently, so this is going to be kind of funny. Harvard, because of the brand name, doesn't always get the best press. But right now, it's actually getting a lot of good press. And behind the scenes, there's a unity. There's a cohesiveness. There's a deep, deep level of trust and faith in the leadership. I can't tell you how much there is. It's incredible. And so what it's done, it's a reminder to us that work in the institution, to alumni. We just had an alumni event 2 weeks ago. It's the biggest and best turnout we ever had. And people are there with their hands on their heart for all the right reasons. It's not, oh, I'm a Harvard grad. It's not that.
Yeah.
It's not the swagger which we get teased about.
Yeah.
So this cohesiveness, this almost like a deeper purpose. And I think it's, of course, it's not just Harvard. It is now other institutions. Some were not sure which direction to go in because they wanted their funding. So if they weren't kissing the ring, they were going to lose their funding and they weren't sure which way to go. Harvard took a stance and they set the compass. And now others have gathered around it. And of course, look, it's not for me to state my political, my landscape.
This is all about squash.
No, it's about, so yes, it's a nervous energy, but what we've got to look at is Harvard is only going to go forwards. We will only go forwards. We will only go forwards.
So it's not changing your recruiting. It's not changing the people who are applying.
No.
People are getting closer together. It's, if anything, it's building cohesion.
Well, it's building cohesion. But in the background, if you are one of these students, you have this nervous what if scenario.
Yeah.
And we make no bones about it. We know that that is there.
Yeah.
So, but we don't pull the wool over their eyes.
Yeah.
We are very honest.
Yeah.
These are the facts as we see them.
Yeah.
This is our leadership. You can follow the court cases.
Yeah.
This is what President Bacow said. So here are the statements that Harvard is doing. We trust our leadership, and then we hope for some trust with us. But, we don't know it. Is there another card for someone to play in this administration? Can they do something? Can they be disruptive? I'm sure they can.
I'm sure they can.
And I'm sure they will if they can in how many people's lives.
Yeah, yeah. I am very happy to hear that it has not affected the recruiting or the cohesion of the team, because that was my worry, was that...
It's not that it won't, but it hasn't yet.
It hasn't yet.
Yeah.
So I definitely need to ask another question, because I don't want to end on that note.
Yeah, no. Yeah, for sure.
You've now lived in the United States for 15 years.
Yeah.
You were born in England. You spent a lot of professional time in Canada.
Yeah.
Your time at Harvard, at some point, you'll have your Ali Farag moment.
Yeah.
Where are you going to go?
Might be in a big box or something, yeah.
Where are you going to go? You're going to stay in the United States?
I don't actually, do I think in the back of my head about retiring? Yeah, I do, but I just don't. I feel, so this is how, first of all, I love my job.
Yeah.
There's no question, I love my job. I love being a coach. I love actually nothing more than doing camps like this. I get as excited with teaching young people as I do with my teams. I love my teams. I love the program. I love Harvard. This is the best job I've ever had in my life. So I'm driven by that. I feel as if I'm a more effective coach now than I was 5 years ago, than 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Even though the old body's like, I'm not using a walker yet, I'm still going. So as long as this has clarity and I've got passion in my heart, I will keep going. But I love the world where I live. I love Cambridge. I love Boston. I love Massachusetts. I love living where I live. I like to go kiteboarding, so I'm on the ocean. So I've got a good life.
Yeah.
I'm not too far from Toronto. I still got friends and family, of course, north of the border, my kids and grandkids. Yeah. I still got family in England. I go back to England whenever I can. Yeah. Life is good. Life is good.
That's great. Mike, thanks so much for the
Thank
time.
You.
I appreciate
Sorry
it.
for the long. Have a good luck with those edits.
Great.
I told you my answers would be too long.
That's great. I think it's great.